In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone. I am Paul Amadeus Lane. Thank you so much for joining us here on ABC News Radio. Don't forget you can catch us on iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, live stream. This is real cool right here. If you're at home right now, checking out the show or watching the show, and if you have a Google Hub, say, hey, Google, play Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane, and check out what happened. Now, if you have an Amazon Alexa, what you want to do is enable Spreaker. If you enable Spreaker, then that's how you can call up the Tech Zone. You can say, hey, next episode. It's pretty cool. But last week, I was joined by a very inspirational person who's a fellow quadriplegic like myself, Jim Ryan. And Jim talked to us about his story on how he became a quadriplegic and how he's not letting that stop him from living and continuing to inspire others out there. And Jim talked about the AI-inspired wheelchair. That's by Hubox. It's called the Wheelie. And how the great folks at Intel are part of this project as well. So I wanted to make sure I invited Intel on to talk about their part of the project and what it means, and just to dig in a little deeper about what made them even want to be a part of this. So I'm so happy I was able to get a representative from Intel on to help describe this to me. And I'm so happy to have with me right now. She is the head of AI for social good over at Intel Corporation, Anna Bethke. Anna, how are you, my dear?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Anna, it is my privilege and my honor to have you on. You know, our last show, we actually talked to someone who was benefiting from this type of innovation, and I wanted to have the creative minds to talk about this project. So the pleasure is all mine. So, Anna, when we look at the Hubox, what made Intel want to be a part of this project?
Yeah, so Hubox had approached us with this idea where they wanted to create a product, and the product's actually called the Wheelie. And what Hubox's strengths are is robotics, and they've been working in some healthcare, different applications. And their CEO had a great idea of being able to utilize facial gesture recognition in order to help somebody who is wheelchair bound use their own facial gestures in order to command and control the wheelchair, and to give them as many options as possible. So they knew Intel had the technology that was capable of helping them to create this solution. So we really wanted to partner with them because we knew that our tech and our expertise could help get Hubox the last mile to make the Wheelie possible.
And
so we,
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm like, this is amazing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I can go on and on about this too. And I don't know, it's interesting because like a lot of the components are all components that we already had completed. So it uses this camera called the RealSense camera. It's a 3D depth camera, which is able to get a lot more information on the gestures itself. And then it uses this miniature computer called a Nook. So it's basically this 8x8 inch computer, which is able to do all the processing online. Because when you're doing this type of AI, you want it to be really, really fast. Because if a user is telling the wheelchair to stop, then you need to stop like immediately. So yeah, it's all technology that came off the shelf. And so it was just like, how do we put these all together? How do we take the software products that we also already have? So using like deep learning neural networks to do this like facial gesture recognition. It's, very similar to other types of networks that we've made, using other optimizers like OpenVINO to put it all together and get it to be as fast and efficient as possible. Like that's, like where our expertise was really able to help the product come to market faster and come to market in a way that's like as accurate as it can be.
I love it. I love it. And when I spoke to Jim Ryan on our last show, he just told me just how it opened up a whole new world of independence for him, because he and I have similar wheelchair, but he uses the head bar to move back and forth. And one thing that I didn't even realize, being a wheelchair user, was that it blocked his peripheral to look back and forth when he's crossing the street. And he said the innovation that the Hubox has in the wheelie allows him to look around and make sure everything is safe. And that's amazing when you're able to see just how the consumers out there are really benefiting from this. And looking at your background too, Anna, I feel, I feel like I didn't give you the proper introduction. I mean, you're a scientist. I mean, and looking at where you started when you went to school for this to where it is today. Take us back to your college days. Did you ever think that AI would get this far for social good, or what were some of the thoughts you had back then?
I wasn't even thinking of going into an AI career back then. I studied aerospace engineering at MIT, and I sort of went into school thinking I'd be working on satellite design or satellite manufacturing, etc. But then I learned about the field of human-computer interaction. So in my master's, I studied under Missy Cummings and learned a lot about how people and machines work together. And this is something that the aerospace industry has had to do for a long time. If you think about, a pilot, like how much control should the plane have? How much control should the pilot have? And, like what is the right amount? Because we've seen actually somewhat recently, if this isn't done properly, there can be some very dire and drastic consequences in, the Boeing crashes recently. That's part of the reason, I think. But yeah, no, like when I was in school, we were, one of our courses was to build a robot and make it autonomous. And, our robot, wasn't really even able to walk. And now we have things that are able to be autonomously doing some very simple tasks that are very programmed. And it's come a long way, and it's like accelerated. And a lot of that, I think, is because we're all sharing our research and our resources in a way that is open and as transparent as possible, which I think is wonderful. I think it's great that we have frameworks like, TensorFlow and PyTorch and all of those, and Python, and all of the work that's been done for like pandas and NumPy and things that just makes it accessible for everybody in order to, jump in and create these products that are pretty amazing.
It is. And when we look at where assistive technology is definitely going, it's mind-boggling to me. I remember when I first got injured over 26 years ago, the wheelchairs that we had back then were just up, down, go fast, go slow. But now we're starting to see a lot of other pieces of technology in it, and this AI interface right here is like I'm still like in shock with it. And what was kind of, let's say, the challenges when it came to being involved in this project that you wanted to make sure that you guys really understood in this collaboration?
Yeah, some of them, I guess there's sort of two. One is to make sure that we safe. So, like if there is a camera malfunction, or if there is like, how do we make sure if the lighting condition changes, or if the person goes to an area that, the camera is just maybe not able to pick up the facial gestures as well, then what happens? Like, what is the mode of operation to make certain that the person using the device is safe at all times? And then also, like, making certain that it works for everybody, both in terms of demographical information, so both men and women of all ages, of all like skin types, of all ethnicities, but also of all, types of mobility. Some people might have a hard time smiling for whatever reason, or some people might have a hard time blinking their eyes. It just, having more choices is optimal. And then like, how do we make sure that, as the devices get, tested and deployed, that everybody is safe. And so that's something that I think Hubox has done an amazing job of, to ensure that every user has a positive experience, because it can take some getting used to. Like we do these at demos, and I really like to smile and laugh a lot. And the default that they had programmed was when you smile, you go forward, because it's, a smile is actually fairly easy to capture. But basically, it was really hard for me to make it stop because I just kept on smiling and laughing. So, there were some safety features that they had to engage for me when I was just testing this out to make it stop, because I just couldn't hold a straight face. So, smile would not be the good one for me to go forward whatsoever. And, there's going to be, similar different cases across the board.
Well, and plus you have a beautiful smile, so and you seem like a lot of fun to be around. So I could see the challenges that you would have with that. What's interesting was when I was at CES, I was stuck in our broadcast bay for the 4 days, so I wasn't able to walk the floor. But I remember a lot of people that we interviewed would come by and say, "Hey, Paul, did you see the person in the wheelchair? They can operate it with their face." And they kept coming over. I said, "No, I'm behind the booth. I'm interviewing. I can't go." And I wanted so bad to see it. But I was so glad that I was able to get a hold of this story to talk about it, because seeing some of the videos from it, I was like, because I look at all the uses out there. Like we talked about Jim's usage, but then like with me, like when I'm at work and I'm tired, people always ask, "You get tired? You don't walk?" I said, "Yeah, I get tired. My hand gets tired from pushing the stick." This right here would help me to switch modes and go straight to hands free. And I think this is something that will help me from crashing into walls, accidentally crashing into people. It'll help me to, when I'm looking at my phone, when a message come in, to be like, "Hey, I could, I think this is a win-win situation right here." And this is pretty awesome.
No, it's awesome to hear. Yeah, and it was so wonderful getting to meet Jim and getting to see him use the product, because it was the first time that he was using it, and it really did not take long for him to be able to learn how to command it. Similarly, we had an individual at CES. He's like the president of the American Rugby Society, so he's able to like power his own wheelchair, but like getting him used to the system too. It's like, how does this all work? And it's rather fast, it's awesome. I like that it does open more possibilities, and hearing stories like yours of how it can be helpful is so inspiring.
Yeah, because when I came back and went to see my therapist and everything, I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool right here. This is something that I think is going to change the world. And also working with the Abilities Expo, that's one thing I was looking at. I said, to see this and the possibilities and what's out there and the reach, it's like, what I like about it too is that the way Hubox has designed this, it can basically work with multiple wheelchairs out there. And I think that's huge, because if you look at ones who are who have a disability or wheelchair users. They're on, majority of them are maybe on some type of aid or limited income. And it's hard for them to go out and buy like a new wheelchair if it had this feature. So I think it's great that you can do a retrofitting to other wheelchairs. And that's really huge. Was that a determining factor when you guys wanted to get involved with this, that you wanted to make sure that ones could really, afford this and use this?
Yeah, no, and that is a big thing because like it's really designed to be another option for as many people as possible, and so having its impact and its ability to help people really scales with the cost. And no, I think it's great too because it doesn't take them long to do that little retrofit. The robot that they call it just sits on the stick that already exists on the wheelchairs. So it's a great way to do it, and that's actually like one of the parts that can take the most time is like how do we fine tune the robot so that it commands the wheelchair properly, and that's one of the big things that like Paulo and his team at Hubox have really optimized as well. So yeah, no, it's a big one.
Yeah, and it's super, super cool. Now, is there anything else about the Hubox and the wheelie that and the AI feature that you would like to talk about? Because this is like fascinating. I can just let you go on and talk about it for the rest of the show. I can kick back and eat me some of these cookies right here. So why don't you go ahead and go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Well, I'm jealous of your cookies, but
I'll make sure I'll send you some. They're really good too.
Perfect. One of the really cool things is that this similar technology can be applied in other ways too. So one of the things that we've been looking at with Hubox is how do we move the facial gesture recognition into an intensive care unit? So basically being able to monitor levels of pain on a patient who, might be in a coma, or they might just be sleeping, or they might, have like a tracheotomy, have different reasons why they're not able to convey that they might be in pain or that, they might be going into pain. And one thing that the AI is able to do is keep an eye on these patients. So if you are low staffed, which often occurs in different hospital settings, or if you, just aren't able to keep an eye on the patients 24/7 because you have other patients that you're taking care of, we can alert the doctors to somebody who needs their care immediately, and even start to train other AI algorithms to be able to notify doctors of patients that might be needing help in the near future. So like sort of even predicting behaviors before they occur. And this can be huge, especially when in different areas, like the healthcare workers, don't scale as well with the number of patients that are needing their care. And, all of this is done, of course, like locally. So the patient's privacy is at the foremost. They know that the system is being used. Either they or their, like medical at will has consented to it. And, it opens different corridors. And that's one of the biggest thing that I have seen in this role of AI for, the head of AI for social good is that, one technique, one type of like deep learning network or one type of application can be utilized in many, many different ways. And a lot of these ways can really help improve somebody's life, can improve the environment, or can help out in some very substantial way, which is really, what drives me.
I love it. And I love the way that your title is AI for social good, because let's face it, we got some conspiracy theorists out there. All they remember about AI is Sonny saying, "I did not kill the man." All they think about. But AI for social good, and just the social aspect of someone being able to operate their chair with their facial expressions. And I do some work with the video gaming community and accessible gaming. And that's one thing that we notice when we look at ones, not just the gaming experience, but the social benefits of it. And I think, Anna, that we have reached the time where we can look at technology as how is it benefiting us socially. and what you guys are doing is awesome over there. And gosh, I am like just blown away by this piece of innovation, and the sky is the limit. And if people would like to find out more about this piece of innovation, and even what you guys are doing over at Intel, and how can they find out more?
Yeah, so there is a lot of information out there. I would say some of my favorite links are intel.ai. And in that, more information on the AI for Social Good project is there. So if you go to intel.ai/AI for social good, and the 4 is the actual number 4. So because we're, data nerds. And but there is information on the Who box there, as well as a video with Jim. I don't know if you linked to it in the last program with him, seeing him actually utilize it, which is just really cool to see. And more information on some of the other projects that we've been working on throughout the years.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, and I'll make you this promise. I would love to have you back on again and talk about everything that deals with AI for social good, because I think we really need to educate the public out there about AI and how it's used in proper ways, because there's so much misinformation out there, and it's good to hear from the source, and not just any source, but a freaking scientist who can tell us these things, who has a wonderful smile, and this is awesome. So Anna, thank you so much for joining me, and looking forward to catching up with you and finding out more information about what you guys are doing over at Intel and this great project that you guys are in with WhoBox and this Wheelie. It's truly awesome.
Yeah, no, it'll be my pleasure to come back. There's a lot more stories that I can tell you about.
Hey, well, we'll make it a bet, my friend. We'll definitely do it.
I like it, and I'll be eating my cookies from you.
Sounds good. Hey, yeah, we'll do it together on air. Like, hey, you got them? Let's take a bite now. Let's make everybody jealous. That's what we'll do. All right.
Sounds perfect.
Once again, a huge shout out to the lovely Anna Bethke joining me, talking about Intel artificial intelligence, the Wheelie WhoBox, WhoBox Wheelie, and just the AI inspired wheelchair. And I loved her. She had an amazing smile. She was super cool, and just to pick her brain and pick her mind about where we're at in the technological sphere, and how we are now seeing this piece of innovation that's going to touch and enhance a lot of folks' lives out there, like myself and others out there. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about gaming. E3 is right around the corner, and a very special guest is going to join me to talk about what we have to look forward to at E3, and delve into his career, too, of how he's been a major part of E3.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.